EGX 2018 was a whirlwind of video games, stage-based livestream shenanigans, loud music, and free badges. Not bad for our first gig as a video team. There we were, out and about on the show floor, dodging queues for days, playing games that caught our eye, even interviewing in Matthew's case, and chancing upon a copy of Vib Ribbon in mint condition, if you're me. That said, Matthew, Alice III and I have compiled a list of our favourite games from EGX to share with you, our audience, some of whom attended the show, to which we say thank you for your support. If you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe for more videos like this. It's not too often in games that we play characters, even in horror games, that make consistently bad life decisions, much less in a calculating fashion. So when I started playing Those Who Remain and immediately learned that the fairly unlikable main character Edward was driving to this dingy motel to cheat on his wife for the umpteenth time, I was immediately engaged. Why cheat? Who is this mistress who feels the need to use a false name on hotel sign-ins? What is Edward's wife like? Who is Edward? Just what a supernatural thriller-horror amalgam needs. Mystery. Arguably the demo's main strength. Similar to Alan Wake, the game is built around light manipulation, to fight back the darkness and progress. And the dark is pretty scary, more so than normal. It contains eerie shadows watching you from a distance with shining eyes, and if you venture too far in, you can't make much sense of your bearings at all. Unlike Alan Wake, however, you're not so much controlling the light source with a torch, at least in the beginning, but relying on environmental lights to clear a path. You find fuses for generators, locate light switches, and power up electrical towers so that light bulbs and lanterns, vehicle fog lights and the like slice out a very clear path from the dark. And that means ambient lighting for days. Your actions in the game also have some bearing on the other world, a separate reality of sorts that I experienced in the demo for a short time. A strange place with impeccable sound design that made it feel as though you were on a fast track to drowning. And I mean that as a positive. If, like me, you like losing yourself in the dark, watch out for Those Who Remain when it creeps onto PC in 2019.
Anyone there? Say something if you're there. I got your distress signal. I'm here to help.
Portal meets the Stanley Parable meets Firewatch. That's what the Bradwell Conspiracy looks and feels like. A puzzle game with a beautiful aesthetic and wonderful sense of humour is just what I've been waiting for. This game is based in the southwest of England, making it dear to my heart and also my home, right next to the Stonehenge. It's set in 2026 and Bradwell Electronics is launching its Clean Water initiative. Something goes terribly wrong, I mean, when does it not? And you end up falling victim to what looks like an earthquake. Waking up among rubble, and with damage to your throat, you're unable to talk. The AI system does its best to try and get you out of this situation, but it's not doing a very good job of it. Thankfully, you come across another survivor. Her name is Amber, but you're both trapped on opposite sides of this huge door. The only way you can communicate is through a pair of smart glasses. Wow, this really is the future. And by taking pictures to send to Amber for her to guide you through the facility. This is where it feels most like Firewatch. As you get deeper and deeper into the underbelly of the company's building, you start to learn that something is amiss. You'll be able to traverse through puzzles using a 3D printing method. Super futuristic. When you first learn how to use the 3D printing gun, you're introduced to the company by none other than Jonathan Ross. As a voice actor, of course, not as an actual character. That'd just be ridiculous. Or would it? I guess we'll find out when it comes to PC soon.
If you spend an inordinate amount of time in Animal Crossing sending little letters to the townspeople, have an unhealthy obsession with job simulators, think Papers, Please is a masterpiece, or enjoy the simple life and times in a place like Pelican Town in Stardew Valley, then boy, is Willowbrooke Post for you. That also means it's 100% for me. In this quirky game, you're entrusted a post office owned by your parents and pretty much take up the mantle, whilst they're absent, with help from Pete, an old family friend. That means running a quaint little postal service in a ye olde English-style town, complete with letter writing and sending, something other characters respond to apparently in a way that makes sense to the letter you wrote. Build friendships, or not, with the people of Willowbrooke based on your interactions, and, if you're this way inclined, opening and reading other folks' mail. I mean, I personally wouldn't do that, but if you wanted to, you could. Just a heads up. I also spent some time in this demo baking an apple pie in a frankly adorable little kitchenette, which I could give to the local chef who posted a relevant quest on the post office board. Or I could have just eaten it myself because it looked delicious. The same of course could be said for the environments of this game, which are warm, Minecraftian, and old-fashioned, Perfect for a game about Post, an increasingly antiquated custom I know I miss. It arrives in early access sometime next year. Well, as long as the delivery man doesn't mangle it on the way.
Censorship played a role in two of my favourite games at EGX. The first was Hypnospace Outlaw, where you police the internet as it was in 1999. Check out our standalone Let's Play for more on that. But this is obviously inappropriate content, where you work in a fictional Eastern Bloc country censoring an action game that parodies Metal Slug. I'm not sure how accurately it represents the dark arts of QA, but the job involves playing through early builds of the game, the wonderfully titled Ural Death Machine, and taking screenshots of obvious bugs or anything that conflicts with strict government regulations. From my time with the game, I learned that I am too bad at 2D run and gun games to ever get a job testing them, and that I am terrible at resisting authority figures. You see, the more changes you request in the game, the more strain you put on your game studio, as you'll see in daily emails and social media chats. The challenge seems to be balancing your role as censor by finding errors to keep the government happy, and letting some sneaky things slip through to make life easier for your colleagues. Personally, I think they should just drop the politically charged action game and rip off Candy Crush. It's very hard to get into trouble with Candy Crushing. The demo from EGX is available to download from itch, so you can see if I'm talking nonsense by playing it for yourself. I'll pop the link in the description box.
What can I say about sticky cats other than it's just a good old time? I guess I could also say, man, them cats are sticky, but the game's name kinda explains that bit. It's one of those bizarro oddities that could have been easily bypassed had RPS word person Matt C not stumbled out of the hall with a wild look in his eyes, mumbling about sticky cats. Truth be told, when I watched this game of two scrambling cats being played the first time, I had to scramble away myself to escape the hyped up screams of the children playing it. That was, of course, until we took over. Having to somehow steal a fish from the bowl and escape out the window with it, our cat's claws sticking into everything, from the carpet to the hanging lights and houseplants, is just too daft to resist. I couldn't help but laugh and exclaim at the sheer joy of it. Turns out the kids were right all along. Why do we even hire boring adults to make these videos? Sticking certainly helps movement, though you can launch into the air as well. But factor in your opponent and cue the hilarity. From game to game, your cats even change in size, from rumpy pumpy toms to little scrabbly kittens. Makes each game feel a little different, though not so much as to be unnecessary. Which is nice, seeing as the fumbling controls are designed with chaos in mind, as it is. From the bizarrely accurate animations of the scatty cats, to the weird names you win with, Sticky Cats is hilarious. I predict many drunk parties with this as the centre of entertainment.
Humans are pretty good at just chucking trash wherever they please, right? Pajama Llama highlights this through its on-water city builder Flotsam. Your helpful guide is a seagull with a plastic six-pack ring round his neck called Steven Seagull. Badum-tsh. Me being the warrior, or should I say warrior, for the planet that I am, this already made me connect with the game instantly. It's your task to sail the post-apocalyptic seas and scavenge any debris that you find floating along the surface over the top of ruined, underwater cities. Recycle everything you find and transform all of the flotsam, various bits of rubbish, and loads of shipwrecks into new buildings and docks for your city. Keep your creations safe by steering your town around with your sails, and avoiding anything that's trying to eat you or sink your town to the bottom of the sea. Make sure your townspeople have fresh water, lots of food, and enough scrap to keep themselves afloat. Haha! Get it? Float? Because water? Oh, never mind. For a game that's set after the whole world collapses, one can only assume due to human error and not recycling, it's a real feel-good, colourful and fun game to play. At the very least, we'll get to find out what it feels like to be Kevin Costner in Waterworld, hopefully without the wee drinking. I can see myself sinking many hours into this game once it's set sail next year. Yeah? That one was good, right? Give me that one at least.
My next pick is Kine, a game where you navigate a blocky city with a set of musical instruments. On paper, a trombone or accordion may not sound like a great choice for an explorer. There's a reason Lara Croft hasn't got legs made from brass tubing. But a few minutes with the demo reveals them to be remarkably able heroes. They mainly roll, but are able to extend and contort, as instruments do, to reach across gaps or vault to new areas. Each character has a different movement pattern and is exploring parts of the world designed for them, but the really clever bit is where their paths intersect and they team up to push or carry each other to safety. At any point in the game you can pause your progress with one instrument and zoom out to the world map to dive back in and tackle another part of the route. It feels like you're chipping away at one massive puzzle rather than just solving a chain of self-contained obstacle courses. And of course it has a killer soundtrack that gradually layers up as different musical devices come into play. If you were into the rolling conundrums of Stephen's Sausage Roll, then you'll probably enjoy this. It's like that game, only with pianos instead of meat tubes, and I know which I'd rather listen to. No firm release date yet, but we will be keeping an eye on this one.
The Snap Hunt has a lot going for it. I'm talking beautiful Firewatch-like visuals, dynamic music, and an intriguing premise all wrapped up into a cat-and-mouse chase with the mysterious Wendigo, a mythological monster of Algonquian folklore. Put together in a mere 10 weeks, it's a competent piece of terror gaming. On first glance, and going in without a clue, you wouldn't expect anything too weird to happen. Of course, I've ruined that for you now, but I have to recommend it, and something tells me you take pictures of mauled tents isn't enough to give you an accurate idea, so spoilers? In the Snap Hunt, you walk around a lovingly realised woodland setting with a camera and search about for clues before taking snaps, which are ranked. You're one of those folks who jump into a camper van and travel to the Rockies for a weekend on the hunt for Bigfoot. This idea of an encounter is actually what drives the game, rather interestingly. Walking about and collecting photos of odd things that catch your eye is gently engaging, but builds this buzz of hope for a Wendigo-shaped shadow for your film role. That is until it actually happens. Fog and reactive music that creep me out quite a bit are telltale signs you're in danger. But you still may not actually see the Wendigo, and you start to wonder if those items of clothing or the weird symbols made from antlers weren't actually traps to bait you in. At which point you feel like the character in a horror film that decides to go back to the car with catchphrases like, "Maybe this wasn't such a good idea," and "It's not funny anymore." If you feel a warm buzz of nostalgia from such tropes, then keep an eye out for the Snap Hunt.
Okay, just a quick dash down the tunnel and on the right somewhere.
The thing that drew me to Meridian Line was the fact that it's set in the London Underground, and I have a massive love-hate relationship with those subterranean trains. Oh, and the developer's business card was a train ticket that they actually punch a hole into when they give you it. It looks pretty creepy, and I was trying to avoid shrieking too much on the EGX show floor, but I survived long enough to get a feel for it. You play as a girl called Alice, I'm already sold, as she looks for her urban explorer brother who has vanished in the train tunnels. It's a first-person thriller game where you navigate the underground. At night, no less. Hooray, my favourite! Well, you solve puzzles to piece together what really happened to your brother. It was in the super early stages when I played it at EGX, but the B-roll they sent over, what you can see here, has a lot more to it. Your brother is looking for an undocumented ghost station called Sanctuary, an obsession that may have taken him to a bad place. You have to pick locks, travel around the tunnel network, use black light to find messages from other explorers, and use many other skills to reach abandoned stations. In case this sounds a bit too easy, there are also odd figures in the shadows that feel like they're watching you. I'm not sure what's worse, shadow beasts or people who leave their evening paper strewn all over the spare seats. Either way, I'm intrigued to play more.
Phogs, the game that turns two-headed science experiments gone wrong into an adorable, not to mention challenging, co-op experience. The aim of the game is to navigate lovely levels as this super stringy sausage dog with two heads, one head for each thumbstick on a controller, whilst feeding giant snakes with apples, watering enormous fungi through a fire hydrant, or swinging across hills on rings. You can thankfully grab onto items, making proceedings much simpler than just wrapping your body around a thing and drag until you can drag no more. Though that works too. It's a co-op game that's fun first, second, and third. It's gorgeously realised with bright colours and squishy things you want to roll in, like huge mattresses and pillows. But it also stands on the right side of mechanical complexity in that it's actually very simple. In theory. It's in the execution that the real fun begins. Think Octodad or Quap. Although, in Quap I'm fairly sure I wanted to hurl my keyboard at the screen rather than laugh my way through a challenge. Another thing I like about this game is that you don't even really need a second controller, just have each person control a stick and relevant trigger buttons. It's just as fun, in fact more so because of the limitations it presents. I love a good on-the-couch co-op experience. The sillier the better. I also thought it was a good idea to balance out the feline fumble core of Sticky Cats with the canine fumble core, because the RPS YouTube channel caters to both cat lovers and dog lovers.
Originally designed for a game jam with the theme of waves, Wavy the Rocket tethers its hero to a sine wave and has you steer him past danger by controlling the amplitude and wavelength of the curve. Increase the amplitude and you can swoop over or under obstacles, while stretching the wavelength sees him zip along even faster. Pretty good when you're racing against the clock for leaderboard domination. It reminded me a bit of the Bit Trip Runner series in the way it pushes ever onwards, although there's much more room here for experimental play and daring score-chasing tactics. It's a real head-messing experience at first, as you try to line up the curve on the right-hand side of the screen, forgetting that Wavey is still travelling along it on the left, causing him to crash and explode into endless obstacles. But eventually the control scheme clicks and you begin to place the curve so that you can swoop through enticing lines of collectibles. I'm a big fan of games that allow for this kind of graceful play, that is, games where the reward of high skill play is that it ends up being amazing to watch, as if the player was seeing through the code like Neo in the Matrix. I was nowhere near hitting that kind of slickness in my demo, but I can easily see people repeatedly playing the stages to turn their runs into one balletic manoeuvre. Again, no release date for this one yet, but we will let you know if we have any updates.
Kinoko is exactly the kind of thing you want to find at a bustling consumer show. In amongst that light haze of dry ice and the sticky heat of bustling crowds, this is a game so relaxing you can happily lose yourself in it. I know I did. Inspired by games such as Flower and Journey, and with a touch of unspoken context that's become synonymous with the games of Fumito Ueda, this world is one you take at your own leisure. It's designed to be enjoyed without needless exposition or fiddling. You play as this creature, which reminds me of a more charming, mage-like, genderless Jack Pumpkinhead, who brings spring back to a series of beautifully imagined islands blanketed in snow. And as a few adorable little forest sprites tell you, all voiced by the team of students who made the game, believe it or not, or rather babble and motion via a series of animated drawings, you can interact with certain objects in the environment. A pile of snow, a mound of dirt or a tree, and as you clear the snow and ice island by island, more work is required. The joy of this game is in the small discoveries. Finding an underground cave with glowing mushrooms and a little bay filled with giant purple flowers, I frankly forgot I was perched on an awkward little stool with people uncomfortably peering over my shoulder as I played. You can zoom out into an overhead view of the map, but from what I could tell, it didn't point you in the direction of every snow clearing activity, so that leisurely stroll remains relatively uninterrupted. And Kinoko is the work of a student team, and I'd be very interested to see where they take it from here. Thank you for watching our list of games we enjoyed on the show floor at EGX 2018. Did you attend the event? What did you like the most? Please let us know in the comment section below. If you want to know more about any of the games we picked, pop your questions down there and we'll answer those too. If you enjoy hearing about the quirkier side of PC gaming, please don't forget to subscribe to Rock Paper Shotgun and click the notifications bell so you know the moment we upload. We do lists, essay-style reviews, previews, and Let's Plays, and there will be plenty more to come. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye for now.